The massive space station floated silently above the blue-green planet, its metal surfaces gleaming under the light of 3 distant suns. Ships from across the galaxy docked at its many ports, each one carrying representatives from the most powerful civilizations known to exist. Today was special. Today, the humans would arrive. Ambassador Kim Soo-jin stood at the window of her small transport ship, watching the enormous station grow larger as they approached. Her hands were steady, but her heart beat faster than usual. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council, and everything had to go perfectly. "Are you nervous?" asked Captain Park Min-ho from behind her. He was a tall man with kind eyes, chosen specifically for this mission because of his calm nature. "A little," Soo-jin admitted. "We have waited so long for this moment." Their ship was tiny compared to the massive warships already docked at the station. The Vorthak Empire had brought vessels the size of small cities, covered in weapons and armor. The Zephyrian ships looked like giant crystals that sparkled with dangerous energy. Even the trade ships of the Nexari were heavily armed and built for war. The human transport ship carried no weapons at all. Instead, its cargo holds were filled with gifts from Earth. There were paintings by famous artists, recordings of beautiful music, samples of rare flowers, and boxes of advanced medical supplies that could save lives across the galaxy. As their ship docked, Soo-jin smoothed her simple blue diplomatic uniform. She had chosen to wear Earth colors today, hoping to remind everyone of their peaceful home planet. Park Min-ho and the other crew members prepared the gift containers, each one carefully labeled in multiple alien languages. The docking bay was enormous, filled with creatures that looked nothing like humans. The Vorthak delegates were tall and covered in thick scales with sharp claws and teeth that could tear through metal. They stood in perfect military formation, their red eyes scanning everything around them like predators looking for prey. The Zephyrians were even stranger. They looked like walking crystals, their bodies made of some kind of living mineral that reflected light in beautiful but frightening patterns. When they moved, they made soft musical sounds, but their voices could shatter glass when they chose to speak loudly. The Nexari were perhaps the most alien of all. They looked like giant insects with multiple arms and compound eyes that could see in all directions at once. They wore complex devices that translated their clicking sounds into words other species could understand. Soo-jin walked forward slowly, her team following behind with the gift containers. Every eye in the docking bay turned to watch them. She could hear whispers in languages she did not understand, but the tone was clear enough. The aliens were not impressed. A massive Vorthak stepped forward, his claws clicking against the metal floor. "So these are the famous humans," he said in a voice like grinding stone. "You look even weaker than we were told." Several other aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Soo-jin simply smiled and bowed politely. "I am Ambassador Kim Soo-jin, representing Earth and all human colonies. We are honored to meet you." "Honored?" The Vorthak's eyes narrowed. "We could crush you without even trying. What makes you think you belong here with real civilizations?" Instead of being angry, Soo-jin reached into one of the containers and pulled out a small bottle filled with golden liquid. "This is honey wine from Earth," she said gently. "It is made from flowers that grow in our most peaceful valleys. Would you like to try some?" The offer caught the Vorthak off guard. He had expected fear or anger, not kindness. Around the docking bay, other aliens watched with interest. This was not how most species responded to threats. "We also brought medical supplies," Park Min-ho added, opening another container. "These devices can heal wounds that would normally take weeks to recover from. We would be happy to share them with anyone who needs help." A Zephyrian delegate stepped closer, their crystal body chiming softly. "You offer gifts to those who threaten you? This makes no sense." Soo-jin's smile never wavered. "On Earth, we believe that kindness is the strongest force in the universe. We have come here not to fight or compete, but to learn and help others." The Nexari translator clicked rapidly before speaking. "These humans appear to be a prey species. They show submissive behavior patterns and offer resources without demanding anything in return. More laughter echoed through the docking bay. The aliens began to lose interest, seeing the humans as weak creatures who posed no threat. Some were already making plans in their minds, thinking about how easy it would be to take over human colonies. But not everyone was fooled. In the shadows at the edge of the docking bay, a few older and wiser creatures watched the humans more carefully. They noticed how the human crew moved with quiet confidence, how their eyes constantly observed everything around them, and how their simple gifts were actually sophisticated pieces of technology. As the formal ceremonies began, Sujin and her team continued to offer friendship and cooperation to everyone they met. They shared stories about Earth, played recordings of human music, and promised to help solve problems that had troubled the galaxy for centuries. The other species saw only weakness. They could not imagine that sometimes the strongest choice is to be gentle, and the most dangerous hunters are those who choose not to hunt. 3 months had passed since the humans first arrived at the Galactic Council. The initial meetings had ended with polite words and false smiles, but now the real testing had begun. Across the galaxy, the major powers started their careful games to see just how weak these new creatures really were. Captain Lee Junwoo was enjoying his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. His cargo ship, the Peaceful Trader, was carrying medical supplies to a human colony on the outer rim when 3 Vorthak raiders appeared from behind an asteroid field. Their ships were small but deadly, designed for quick attacks on helpless merchants. "This is War Leader Krath of the Vorthak Empire," a harsh voice crackled over the radio. "Surrender your cargo and prepare to be boarded." Lee's crew of 12 looked at him with worry. They had no weapons, just like all human merchant ships. The Vorthak were known for their cruelty to prisoners. Most species would either fight desperately or beg for mercy. Instead, Lee did something unexpected. "This is Captain Lee of the Peaceful Trader. We surrender completely. Our cargo hold is unlocked and ready for inspection. We also have medical officers on board if any of your crew needs help." The Vorthak were confused by this response. They boarded the human ship carefully, expecting some kind of trap. But they found exactly what Lee had promised: a cargo hold full of medical supplies and a crew that offered no resistance at all. What the raiders did not notice was the small device that Lee quietly activated as they searched his ship. It looked like a simple emergency beacon, but it was actually recording everything: the raiders' voices, their ship designs, their weapon types, and their attack patterns. When the Vorthak left with half the medical supplies, Lee immediately sent a message to other human ships in the area. Within hours, rescue vessels arrived to help repair the damage and replace the stolen medicine. They also picked up the valuable information that Lee's hidden recorder had gathered. On the trade world of Nexus Prime, Minister Kim Hae-won was meeting with Zephyrian trade officials. The crystal beings had just announced new rules that would make it almost impossible for humans to sell their goods in Zephyrian space. "These tariffs are quite high," Kim said calmly, looking at the numbers on her datapad. "They will make our food exports cost 3 times the normal price." The lead Zephyrian's body flashed with colors that meant satisfaction. "Perhaps humans should focus on serving stronger species instead of trying to compete with them." Kim nodded, thoughtfully. "I understand your position. We will find other ways to help our friends in the galaxy." She bowed politely and left the meeting without any argument. But instead of giving up, Kim immediately contacted human agricultural scientists. Within weeks, they had developed new growing techniques that could help planets with poor soil produce their own food. These techniques were offered freely to struggling Zephyrian colonies, bypassing the trade restrictions entirely. The Zephyrians found themselves in an awkward position. Their government had tried to hurt human trade, but now human scientists were helping their own people survive. Some Zephyrian colonies began to openly praise human generosity, making the trade restrictions look cruel and pointless. Dr. Park So-young was working late in her research station when she received an urgent message. A Nexari mining operation had suffered a terrible accident, and dozens of workers were trapped underground. The Nexari government was too proud to ask for help, but some of their people had secretly contacted the humans. "We cannot officially request assistance," the message said, "but if humans happen to be in the area with rescue equipment, we would not turn them away." Park smiled at the careful wording. She immediately prepared her team and their most advanced rescue robots. The equipment was supposedly being transported to a human colony nearby, but somehow it ended up at the Nixari mining site just when it was needed most. The rescue operation took 2 days. Human machines dug through collapsed tunnels while human doctors treated the injured workers. When it was over, 47 Nixari miners were alive because of human help. The official reports never mentioned human involvement, but everyone knew the truth. Meanwhile, in the shadows of space, other events were taking place. Human exploration ships continued to visit new systems, always carrying gifts and offers of friendship. They built research stations in remote areas, supposedly to study interesting phenomena. They established trade posts in neutral zones, claiming they wanted to help different species work together. What the other civilizations did not realize was that each human outpost was perfectly positioned. The research stations could monitor all major shipping routes. The trade posts were located at key strategic points. The exploration ships had mapped every important system in the galaxy. Captain Yang Min-Su commanded one of these exploration vessels. His ship, the Curious Spirit, had spent months visiting different worlds and meeting various alien species. Everyone who met him remembered a friendly human who asked many questions about their culture and history. But Yang was actually gathering much more than cultural information. His ship's sensors recorded defensive positions, military movements, and economic data. His friendly conversations revealed political tensions and military capabilities. All of this information was quietly sent back to human space, where it was carefully studied and filed away. After 6 months of testing, the galaxy's major powers were satisfied. The humans were clearly a weak species that could be easily controlled or eliminated when the time was right. They showed no anger when attacked, no pride when insulted, and no strength when challenged. The aliens began making their plans for the future, not realizing that the humans were making plans too. The warning signals reached Colony Administrator Han Ji-woo at exactly 3:47 in the morning. He had been sleeping peacefully in his small apartment on New Busan when the emergency communication system woke him with its urgent beeping. The message was simple and terrifying. A massive Vorthak invasion fleet was approaching their world. New Busan was a quiet farming planet, home to 2 million humans who had built their lives growing food for the galaxy. The colony had no military bases, no weapon factories, and no orbital defenses. Its biggest structures were grain storage facilities and processing plants. To outside observers, it was the perfect target for an easy conquest. Han looked out his window at the peaceful valley below. Farmers were already starting their morning work, completely unaware that death was approaching from space. He had maybe 6 hours before the Vorthak ships arrived, and his people would expect him to save them somehow. The colony's communication center was buzzing with activity when Han arrived. His staff looked at him with frightened eyes, waiting for orders that seemed impossible to give. How do you defend a farming world against an army designed for war? Send a message to the Vorthak fleet, Han said quietly. Tell them we surrender. Tell them we have no weapons and no desire to fight. Ask them to please spare our civilians. Communications Officer Lee Min-jung looked shocked. Sir, are you sure? Maybe we should call for help from Earth. Han shook his head. Help would take weeks to arrive. We have hours. Begin the evacuation procedures immediately. Move everyone away from the cities and into the rural areas. Make it look like we are running in panic. Across the planet, emergency broadcasts told people to leave their homes and head for the countryside. Most families packed quickly and drove away from the major settlements, following roads that led to designated safe zones in the mountains and forests. To anyone watching from space, it looked like a population fleeing in terror. But some people did not evacuate. In hidden bunkers beneath the cities, small teams of specialists remained behind. These were not farmers or ordinary colonists. They were engineers, technicians, and computer experts who had been quietly living normal lives while waiting for this day. Commander Park Taemin had been working as a simple maintenance worker for 3 years. His job was fixing irrigation systems and repairing farm equipment. Nobody knew that before coming to New Busan, he had been one of Earth's top military engineers. Now, as Vorthak ships filled the sky above, he activated systems that had been built into the colony's infrastructure from the very beginning. The Vorthak invasion force was impressive to see. Hundreds of ships darkened the sky as they descended toward the planet's surface. War leader Krath stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human cities grow larger on his screen. There had been no resistance, no desperate last stand, no brave speeches about defending their home. The humans had simply run away like frightened animals. "This is almost disappointing," Krath said to his officers. "I expected at least some fight from them." The first landing ships touched down in the main city center. Vorthak soldiers poured out, their weapons ready for battle, but they found only empty buildings and abandoned streets. Some soldiers laughed at how easy this conquest was going to be. Others felt insulted that their enemy had not even tried to resist. As the alien forces spread through the city, they began to notice strange things. The power was still working, which was unusual for an abandoned settlement. The computer networks were still active. Many buildings had their doors unlocked, as if inviting the invaders inside. Sergeant Vrak was leading his squad through a residential area when the first trap activated. What looked like a simple street lamp suddenly projected a blinding light directly into their eyes. While the soldiers stumbled around blindly, the pavement beneath their feet began to move, tilting at sharp angles that sent them tumbling into carefully designed pits. This was not a crude booby trap made by desperate farmers. This was sophisticated engineering that turned the entire city into a weapon. The irrigation systems that watered the parks became delivery networks for sleeping gas. The underground power cables created electromagnetic fields that disabled Vorthak equipment. Even the decorative fountains were actually components in a complex defensive system. Commander Park watched from his hidden control room as enemy forces fell into one trap after another. Every building, every street, and every public facility had been designed with this moment in mind. The humans had not been building a simple farming colony. They had been building the galaxy's most advanced fortress, disguised as a place of peace. At the same time, similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Captain Oh Dong-hyun received a single coded message on his cargo ship, which was carrying grain to a Nexari trade station. Immediately, hidden panels opened in the ship's hull, revealing weapon systems that had been disguised as farming equipment. The peaceful harvest transformed into a powerful warship in less than 30 seconds. All around the galaxy, other human ships were dropping their peaceful masks. What the aliens had thought were simple merchant vessels were actually an advanced military fleet that had been hiding in plain sight for months. Every cultural exchange mission had positioned human forces exactly where they needed to be for maximum effect. War leader Krath realized his mistake when his communications with the ground forces suddenly went silent. Looking down at the planet below, he saw that his invasion had walked directly into the most clever trap in galactic history. The humans had not been weak. They had been patient. Admiral Lim Seung-ho stood perfectly still on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display that showed the true scope of humanity's presence in the galaxy. The massive ship around him had been disguised as a simple transport vessel for 8 months, carrying agricultural equipment between human colonies. Now its real nature was revealed. The Merciful Thunder was one of the most advanced warships ever built. The bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, their faces calm and professional. These were not panicked farmers defending their homes. These were trained military personnel who had been waiting patiently for this moment, living secret lives as merchants, scientists, and diplomats while preparing for war. "Admiral," reported Communications Officer Kim Yoo-jin, "all units are in position. We have confirmed locations of 73 human vessels throughout Vorthak, Zephyrian, and Nexari space. The alien governments are just now realizing they are surrounded." Through the main view screen, Lim could see the massive Vorthak home fleet scrambling to respond to the crisis on New Busan. Their ships were impressive and numerous, but they had been caught completely off guard. Half their forces were scattered across the galaxy, and the other half was trapped in their home system by human ships that had appeared as if from nowhere. The Admiral activated the galaxy-wide communication system, knowing that leaders from Every major civilization would be listening. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady, carrying the quiet authority of someone who held overwhelming power and chose to use it wisely. "I am Admiral Lim Sung-ho of the Earth Defense Fleet," he began. "For the past 8 months, you have tested what you believed was human weakness. You attacked our ships, threatened our people, and planned to divide our territory among yourselves. You made one critical error. You assumed that kindness and strength cannot exist in the same species." On the bridge of the Vorthak flagship, War Leader Krath watched in horror as his tactical display updated with new information. Human warships were emerging from hyperspace around every major Vorthak world. Ships that had been dismissed as harmless cargo haulers were revealing weapon systems beyond anything in the Vorthak arsenal. "How is this possible?" Krath growled to his officers. "Our intelligence report said they had no military capabilities." His communication officer looked pale as he delivered the answer. "Sir, our intelligence was wrong. Those ships we ignored, the ones carrying art and medical supplies, they were never civilian vessels. They were warships in disguise, and they have been mapping our defenses for months. In the crystal towers of the Zephyrian capital, the High Council was experiencing similar shock. The humans they had dismissed as weak traders were systematically shutting down Zephyrian military communications. Every human research station was revealing itself as a sophisticated listening post. Every cultural exchange had been a spy mission. Council leader Crystallis's body flashed angry red colors as she realized the scope of the deception. "The humans made us believe they were herbivores while they were actually apex predators," she said to her advisors. "They studied us like prey while offering us gifts." On New Busan, the battle was already over. Commander Park Tae-min emerged from his hidden bunker to survey the aftermath. Thousands of Vorthak soldiers lay unconscious in the streets, victims of non-lethal weapons that had been built into every building and street corner. Their equipment was disabled, their communications were jammed, and their invasion force was completely helpless. The most shocking thing was that very few of the invaders were actually dead. The humans had designed their defensive systems to capture rather than kill, showing a level of restraint that was completely alien to most galactic civilizations. Dr. Choi Min-ae activated her medical stations throughout human space. The facilities that had been offering free healthcare to alien species suddenly revealed their true purpose. They were intelligence-gathering centers that had been quietly studying alien biology and psychology for months. Every patient treated had provided valuable information about alien strengths and weaknesses. "We know exactly how each species thinks and fights," she reported to Admiral Lim. "Their medical records told us about their physical limitations. Their casual conversations revealed their military strategies. They trusted us with their secrets because they thought we were harmless." Engineer Yang Subin's construction projects across the galaxy simultaneously activated. The infrastructure improvements that humans had built for alien worlds were actually control systems in disguise. Power grids, communication networks, and transportation systems that humans had helped to repair were now under human control. On Earth, Ambassador Kim Soo-jin was addressing the emergency session of the Galactic Council via quantum communication. Her voice was gentle but firm as she explained humanity's position to the shocked alien delegates. "We came to you in peace," she said. "We offered friendship, cooperation, and genuine help. We hoped you would accept us as partners in building a better galaxy. When you chose to see our kindness as weakness, you forced us to reveal our true nature." The holographic display behind her showed the current military situation. Human forces had achieved total strategic superiority without firing a single shot in anger. They had spent months positioning themselves perfectly, while their enemies planned for an easy conquest. "We are persistence hunters," Kim continued. "On Earth, our ancestors brought down creatures 10 times our size, not through brute strength, but through patience, intelligence, and working together. We hoped we would never need to show you this side of our nature. The galaxy was learning a lesson that would reshape interstellar politics forever. The most dangerous predator was not the one that roared the loudest, but the one that hunted, in silence while offering its prey a gentle smile. The war that everyone expected to last for years ended in exactly 18 days. Across the galaxy, alien military commanders found themselves facing an impossible situation. Human forces had appeared everywhere at once. Their technology was more advanced than anything previously seen, and worst of all, they fought with a level of coordination that seemed almost supernatural. General Song Mi-young stood in the command center on New Seoul, watching reports flow in from battlefields throughout known space. Her staff worked quietly around her, coordinating the movements of human fleets with the precision of a master chess player. Every move had been planned months in advance, every strategy tested through careful observation of alien behavior. On the screen in front of her, she could see the surrender ceremony taking place in Vorthak space. War leader Krath, once proud and arrogant, now knelt before Captain Park Min-ho with his claws bound behind his back. But instead of the cruel victory celebration that most species would have held, the humans were treating their defeated enemies with unexpected kindness. "Sir," Park said to the fallen Vorthak leader, "your wounded soldiers are being treated in our medical facilities. They will receive the same care as our own people. When they recover, they will be free to return home." Krath looked up in confusion. In his culture, defeated enemies were either killed or enslaved. The concept of showing mercy to those who had tried to destroy you was completely foreign to him. "Why do you not execute us?" he asked. "We would have shown you no such kindness." Park helped the alien commander to his feet with gentle hands. "Because we choose to be better than our worst impulses," he replied. "Strength without mercy is just another form of weakness." Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Zephyrian crystal ships that had been preparing for a final desperate battle found themselves surrounded by human vessels broadcasting offers of peaceful surrender. The Nexari trade fleets that had been racing to defend their home worlds discovered that human forces had already secured all the major shipping routes. Dr. Kim Yuna was working in her medical station when a group of injured Vorthak prisoners were brought in for treatment. Her staff looked at her uncertainly, wondering how they should treat soldiers who had been trying to kill them just hours before. "Treat them exactly like you would treat any patient," she said firmly. "Pain is pain, regardless of who feels it. Fear is fear, no matter what species experiences it. Our job is to heal, not to judge." One of the Vorthak soldiers, a young warrior with deep cuts across his scaled arms, stared at her in amazement as she carefully cleaned and bandaged his wounds. "You are healing me?" he whispered. "But I came here to destroy your people." Kim smiled gently as she worked. "You came here because your leaders told you we were weak and needed to be conquered. Now you know the truth. We were never weak. We were choosing to be peaceful. There is a difference." The political changes came quickly after the military victories. The Zephyrian Confederacy was the first to send official diplomatic messages, offering to sign a non-aggression treaty with humanity. Their crystal ships, once so proud and threatening, now traveled under human escort as they delivered peace proposals. The Nexari were more practical in their approach. Their trade calculations showed that cooperation with humans would be far more profitable than continued conflict. Within a week, Nexari merchants were already negotiating deals for human technology and agricultural products. Even smaller alien civilizations that had remained neutral during the conflict now sent urgent messages to Earth, hoping to establish friendly relations with the galaxy's new dominant power. Everyone wanted to be on good terms with the species that had conquered the three major empires in less than 3 weeks. Ambassador Kim Soo-jin returned to the Galactic Council station, but this time she was not alone. Admiral Lim Sung-ho walked beside her, representing humanity's military might, while Dr. Choi Min-ae carried proposals for expanded medical cooperation. The same docking bay that had once echoed with alien laughter at human weakness now fell, silent with respect. The council chamber had been redesigned to accommodate humanity's new status. Kim's seat was no longer in the back corner reserved for minor species. Instead, she sat at the main table, with other alien leaders looking to her for guidance on galactic policy. "We want the same thing we wanted 8 months ago," Kim told the assembled delegates. "Peace, cooperation, and the chance to build something better together. The only difference is that now you understand the strength behind our kindness." The new galactic order took shape quickly. Human colonies became safe havens for refugees from old conflicts. Human ships patrolled the major trade routes, ensuring that merchants could travel safely without fear of pirates or raiders. Human scientists worked alongside alien researchers, sharing discoveries that had been hoarded as military secrets for centuries. Captain Lee Jun-woo, whose cargo ship had been attacked in the early days of testing, now commanded a fleet of vessels that ensured safe passage for traders throughout the galaxy. His ships carried the same medical supplies and cultural gifts that humans had always shared, but now they also carried the quiet promise of protection for those who needed it. On worlds throughout the galaxy, children grew up hearing stories about the humans who had changed everything. They learned that true strength came not from the willingness to fight, but from the wisdom to know when fighting was necessary and when it was not. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as reluctant guardians who chose peace whenever possible, and war only when there was no other choice.